helping us review some of the difficult conversations and emotions that we've just been experiencing. So Suraj, I'll turn it to you.
Hi, this is Suraj Patel. I guess you can hear my audio but not see my face, which is probably okay today. Oh, never mind. Here I am. Nalini, thank you so much for inviting me and for organizing this. For those of you who are in New York, you may know, and for those of you around the country, I'm currently running for US Congress here in New York City in the 12th Congressional District of New York, which is the east side of Manhattan, North Brooklyn, and Western Queens. And only less than 20 days away from Election Day, and running against a Democrat in a primary as a Democrat, but a Democrat who voted for the 94 crime bill, has been in office for 28 years, and sort of has a record that we no longer can accept, I think, period. Anyway, this isn't about me. I guess this is the moment for me. Melina, you tell me how to take it. I know we're supposed to talk to the different breakout rooms. So does somebody want to go first and just tell me some of, you know, what you discuss, lessons learned and what was discussed? Melina, you tell me what.
Sure, I'll call on people for you.
In order, how about that?
Sure, Suraj. I'll call on people, on our facilitators, and I'll have you process. So,
Awesome.
Alicia?
So we discussed a lot in regards to opportunities to get involved in local politics as a way to help make systemic change by using our voices and our votes. Things that were giving us hope regarding to young people really being active and definitely using their voices. But we first started with just continuing to talk a bit about our own identity and identifying some of our shared experiences that I think helped create a little circle of trust that allowed us to share some deeply personal things as well.
We'll go over to
yeah. Sorry, I was in that room, so I didn't know what else. I was like, all right, well, I can't really, I was in that room, so sorry.
Would one of the other facilitators share?
Sure, I'll go ahead and share. This is Natalie. We had a very diverse group, which was great. We really started with talking about the pain of where we are today and trying to like figure out how we got here to begin with. And there was conversation about the need for learning and starting at the common denominator of the fact that we're human beings first. And there were comments on not understanding how people could be cruel and callous, people not thinking about the legacy that they might leave their children, people who tend to dissociate themselves, and so it's not their problem. They self-isolate, so they don't really have to get involved. And our, you know, some of our silver linings was this is the opportunity to learn. We are finally seeing some courageous conversations take place. We are seeing big business put commitments in writing that we had not seen before. There's new language that people are beginning to understand what the language really means and what the history, the rich history of the experiences that we've had, what that is, and where we need to go from there. We were really encouraged by the fact that so many people have been impacted and moved to action. The tragedy would be if nothing changes.
Natalie, that's a really great, I think that dovetails with some of what we discussed with Alicia's group, you know, that the bright spot here is that some of the symbolic action is no longer acceptable for frankly anyone, you know, and it can't be the same as every other time. So it's not much progress, but it's progress. It's a start.
this is Bailey. I just want to share what our group discussed. And some of the things that came up as far as struggle, things that we need to continue to work on is communication. One, effectively communicating and lending understanding to people that possibly self-isolate, as our last facilitator mentioned. And we also just talked about what gives us hope, like the demonstration of unity globally is very inspiring. And so I think even with the issue that we saw, there's still some hope that we will get to people that may be last to jump on the bandwagon of peace and unity, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's great, Bailey. I think I agree with you, and I think again our groups are doing the same sort of the it feels different. Let's start with that. Question is, can we channel that? I think we have one group, right, Lainey?
Yeah, and Farah?
I was actually in Shah's group, so I'm going to let him speak because he actually facilitated our discussion.
Hey guys, thank you for, yeah, we actually had very similar discussions. Initially, a lot of people felt this overwhelming heartbreak, you know, and they felt shame that they weren't active or not for not telling others what they believed in. And this people felt this hopelessness of leadership, and they had difficulty processing, what's happening, and, and difficulty having confidence in who will bring change, and along with that, a heightened sense of division, right, due to the circumstances of other people. One of the somebody mentioned a great point. They said that one of the girls mentioned that her 8-year-old brother asked her, "Hey, why is this person treated this way and this person treated? Why did they harass this person this way and the other person another way?" You know, and what a difficult question to answer, right? To a young child. Now, and I relate to that because my 4-year-old son went with my wife the other day to the protest. They were just walking by and they saw the protest, and my little 4-year-old son asked her, like, "Hey, mommy, what are they doing?" Right? So those are things that we're all sort of feeling and wondering. And then another great point people brought up is uh, how how do we police our communities? What's written on paper, right? What are they supposed to do? But when you talk to other people who've dealt with police, what they tell you is completely different what's supposed to happen on paper, right? Which shows the police system is broken. So how can we say that it's credible, right? And what can we say, and what can we do to be motivated to deal with this disappointment, right? So some people, how can it be? Why is it that some people don't have basic human rights, and people are having a tough time understanding this? And for myself, I realize myself as a Muslim that I have certain prejudices that I grew up with, um, and and we all have prejudices. And what happens is, what's happening now is, well, what happened before was, we think the person with the loudest voice is right? And we all stood there and we just watched them talk. We said, no, it's okay. We'll just be kind and we won't say anything. It doesn't really matter. But the truth is, it does matter. How is it that we aren't focusing on more important things such as mental health and substance use if we can allocate the money that way, right? And also the tight rope that we walk in to help others. It's like, I don't know if I should. No, it's not my problem. And how we felt when, you know, uh, one of the people told me that, uh, she's been apologizing to people, because she's white and and it's like, we feel this sense now, right? And then we were also wondering, discussing how it's so important to build relationships in order to build our communities, right? We don't know how to build relationships, really, right? And what's it called? That's what we need to focus on. Build relationships with people and just calling our friends. It doesn't have to be going out and doing stuff. I think when we think of community, we think of like, we have to go out and do something. No, I think that's wrong. We have to even talk to the few people that we have. We need to have those discussions. Um, and what I found amazing was that, uh, um, we had one African American in our group, and he's saying that he's done whatever that he can do, where he's like, contacting my friends and figuring out how can I contribute this. um, and it amazed me. I was like, wow, that's something that they don't show in the media, what a young person is doing. uh, and he has both his parents, and what he's doing to be out there. We don't hear that too much positivity. And uh, and everybody's wondering, how can I contribute to this, as far as hope goes. Now people are wondering, okay, how can I help this next generation? What is our responsibility to them? Because we do have a responsibility. At the end of the day, we actually do. We have a responsibility to this next generation. um, and one person was saying they help them volunteer, they donate to different organizations. And how we all have access to so much information right now, like podcasts, like online. When you go through Facebook or Instagram, you have all this information that you can learn from. So we're actually very blessed to have all this information and learn and use it. And But at the same time, some people, they're not able to go to the protest because of COVID-19. Some of our parents are not able to go, and we don't want to get them sick, with their immunocompromised. So there's that aspect too. But I think the bottom line is that we can all do a little something, right? Even if it's those conversations with a few of our friends or family members, they can go a long way. So, and I realize that we're feeling this despair because we feel like we haven't done enough. But I think it's just a learning lesson for us to do more. Even a small conversation, a one little thing can make a big difference. And that's it. That's what uh, that's what we went over.
Well, thank you. That echoes, I think, a lot of people's thoughts that like small steps in the aggregate really are what's going to make this difference. And I want to take it, because I know we're tight on time, to Grace to give us your readout.
Hi. My group kind of we first started the conversation with recognizing our privileges. We continued that, and we wanted to overcome that fear of acknowledging privilege. And then we moved towards what are we feeling, like honest conversations about that. I really truly think we heal by sharing our truth. Everybody has their own truth. So, going around the group and talking about what we feel, and then also talking about our hopes and our visions for what we want moving forward, and what kind of action steps we're going to take individually. And there was a common denominator sentiment of self-education, and even just stressing the importance of self-education, because that's a kind of, it takes humility, and you have to humble yourself to acknowledge that there are things that you are ignorant of. And so, and then one thing that we kind of addressed was like the overwhelming, like feeling of need to like listen to all these different podcasts and books and documentaries, and trying to digest all of that in a very short period of time. But one of our group members said that it is a lifelong learning experience, and it's a marathon. And so I wanted to encourage everybody with that. And then we ended with self-care, how people
Okay.
take care of themselves.
Cool. Well, that's wonderful, everybody. First off, I'm just really, really encouraged by the fact that we're all on this call for an hour, hour and a half, whatever of our time, knowing, full well and respecting it. This is going to be we're at the beginning. I think someone just put it in there. This is the beginning mile of a marathon. And one thing we used to say when I was organizing in politics after Donald Trump got elected is that the resistance needs specialists. That it may very well likely be that you'll burn out